You probably think aging is this slow, gentle slide into retirement. A little more rest, less work, fewer worries. Sounds peaceful, right? But let me slap you with some cold reality. For millions, aging doesn't look like peace. It looks like waking up one day unable to get out of bed. It looks like a broken hip from a simple slip in the kitchen. It looks like a body that betrays you, and no one around to help. That's why this video might not just be helpful, it might save your life. Because while most folks your age are glued to the recliner, counting pills and doctor visits, there's a small group of 90-year-olds doing something that baffles doctors around the world. They're not using walkers. They're using pruning shears. They're not calling the nurse. They're calling out to hummingbirds in their garden. And they're not just alive, they're thriving. You think that's luck? Wrong. It's not magic. It's not genetics. It's science, and a whole lot of movement, mindset, and purpose. Let's hit you with the first wake-up call. Elderly people who garden regularly have a 50% lower risk of dying from heart disease. That's not a theory. That's hard data straight from the British Journal of Sports Medicine. Now ask yourself, what's happening to your body while you're watching reruns and scrolling through your phone for the 5th hour straight? And here's the second gut punch. Active seniors have nearly half the risk of developing dementia. Why? Because gardening isn't just physical, it's mental. It demands focus, patience, and planning. It pushes your brain to think, adapt, remember. And every single day you skip that kind of activity, your brain pays the price. Let's not sugarcoat this. If you're not moving, you're shrinking. Not just in muscle, in memory, awareness, independence. You scared of becoming a burden to your kids, of lying helpless on the floor for hours with no one to hear you call for help? Scared your last years will be spent sitting in a room where no one remembers your name, not even you? Let's be brutally honest. If you don't start changing your lifestyle now, that's exactly where you're headed. But here's the twist. Gardening isn't just about plants. It's medicine in motion. It's your daily fight against decay. It gives your muscles a reason to move, your lungs a reason to breathe deep, your heart a reason to beat with purpose. You're not just digging in the dirt. You're digging yourself out of the trap most people your age fall into, one lazy habit at a time. And if you're thinking, it's too late for me, let me introduce you to Marjorie Smith. She started gardening at 78. She's 93 now, still out there planting, pruning, and yes, digging tree holes with her own 2 hands. Her neighbor, same age. Said gardening was too exhausting, spent her days inside. She passed away from a chest infection last winter. Her immune system was just too weak. One yard held a blooming cherry tree. The other held silence. You decide which yard you want to be remembered for, be like Marjorie, or risk becoming the one they talk about in past tense. Because let's be clear, this isn't about flowers. It's about fighting back. Think gardening is just about movement, just a way to stretch your legs and break a sweat? You're way off. That's just the surface. The real power of gardening goes deep. And I'm not talking about soil. Let's talk science. Gardening directly stabilizes one of the most dangerous chemicals in your body, cortisol, your stress hormone. And here's the kicker. Most older adults have cortisol levels that are completely out of control. Why? Because behind the calm face is a storm of loneliness, fear, uncertainty, and the crushing feeling of losing control. You might not feel it every second, but that background stress, it's wrecking you quietly, daily, relentlessly. Cortisol doesn't just make you feel anxious. It shuts down your immune system. It lowers your defenses like flipping a switch. Suddenly, you're not catching a cold, you're inviting it in. Flu, chest infections, lingering coughs that won't quit. Your body just can't fight back the way it used to. Now here's what's wild. Studies show that regular gardening slashes inflammation markers in the body. Why? Because getting your hands in the dirt, literally, connects you with beneficial bacteria that help regulate your nervous system. Yes, the soil itself is medicine. Mix that with sunlight, fresh air, physical movement, and a sense of purpose. That's a recipe your body understands. That's the prescription your doctor can't write. And you might be thinking, but I don't feel stressed. Really? When was the last time you woke up feeling calm? Actually calm? No tightness in your chest? No dread in the pit of your stomach? When was the last time you fell asleep without worrying that the worst is still coming? That low-level anxiety, the kind you've learned to live with, is draining you. Not just mentally, physically. every organ, every cell, every system, slowing down, slipping. But here's the truth bomb. Older gardeners aren't just relaxed, they sleep deeper. They have steadier heart rates, more stable blood sugar. They're not riding the emotional roller coaster every day because they've built structure, motion, peace into their routine. And what's the real difference between them and you? They've stopped waiting. They're not sitting around for the next pill, the next checkup, the next excuse. They've picked up the tools, literally, and taken their health into their own hands. And you? Are you still hoping a magic solution is coming? Let's be clear. Medicine can delay decline, but it won't restore purpose. It won't rebuild strength. It won't hand you back your energy, your focus, your spark. But the garden might. And no, you don't need acres. You don't need a greenhouse. You need a pot, a plant, and a promise to yourself. I'm not giving up my future. I'm building it, one seed at a time. Here's something most people don't see coming. The real power of gardening? It's not just in your muscles or your lungs. It's in your connections. See, the other half of the secret behind 90-year-old gardeners isn't just what they do, it's who they do it with. Because guess what? People who garden regularly are 70% less likely to suffer from social isolation. That's not a nice little statistic. That's survival level stuff. According to Harvard, isolation is now one of the top predictors of early death, right up there with smoking and obesity. Let that sink in. Being lonely can cut your life shorter, just like a bad diet or a lifetime of poor choices. And no, this isn't just about feeling a little down. It's about what happens when your phone stops ringing, when the only voice you hear is the TV, when even your own kids check in less and less. Until the silence becomes routine. You think that's being independent? No, that's being forgotten in slow motion. Let's talk about Joanne Miller, 84, from Ohio. She stopped going out, didn't tend to her small backyard anymore. Friends stopped calling. Her family got busy. 6 months of silence. The diagnosis? Severe depression, cognitive decline, and oxygen deprivation in the brain from inactivity. 2 months later, she had a fall, and this time, she didn't bounce back. Now, contrast that with her best friend from the local gardening club, 87 years old, still growing strawberries, and mentoring new gardeners in her community plot. She's out there every Saturday, chatting, teaching, living. That's the difference. One life faded into isolation. The other stayed rooted, in people, in movement, in purpose. So let's be blunt. Loneliness isn't just sad, it's dangerous. And if you think it just comes with age, you've already surrendered. Gardening changes that. It gives you a reason to step outside, to say hello, to swap seeds with a neighbor, to show off the tomatoes you grew from scratch. It creates conversation, community, and most of all, connection. You build something real, with your hands, with your time, with your presence. You stop being invisible, and for a lot of people, especially those over 70, that's more healing than any medication on the shelf. Still telling yourself nothing can change, that it's too late, that belief is the real danger. Because the moment you stop believing you can reconnect is the moment your health starts slipping, physically, emotionally, mentally. But one small act, planting something, joining a garden club, even talking to the neighbor next door about your basil can pull you back into the world. Not someday, not when you feel better. Now, don't wait for the silence to get louder. You're not meant to fade. You're meant to grow. Here's the harsh truth no one wants to say out loud. Aging doesn't forgive weakness. Not anymore. Not at this stage. When you were 30, you could get away with skipping a workout, eating junk, sitting around. But now, every day you don't move, your muscles shrink. Every day you sit in silence, your bone dims. You think you're aging slowly? You're not. You're slipping. Fast. And here's what those unstoppable 90-year-old gardeners already figured out. They're not superhuman. They're not some rare exception. They're just people who realized one critical truth. Early. The only way to stay alive is to stay in motion. They don't protect themselves by sitting still. They don't take it easy by doing nothing. They use their bodies, their minds, their time. They get up early. They breathe real air, not recycled from an air conditioner. They bend, lift, dig, and stretch. And yeah, sometimes it hurts. But you know what? They're grateful for the pain, because pain means they're still here, still capable. Now here's their biggest secret. They're not afraid of the end. They're afraid of the slow fade, of disappearing, of becoming helpless, invisible, left behind. So they took that fear and turned it into fuel, into routine, into gardening, into life. And no, this isn't about tomatoes. It's about dignity. It's about control. It's about refusing to give up your identity just because the world expects you to. You still think you have time to figure it out? You don't. Because here's the choice. Laid bare, you can pick up a shovel and fight for every inch of vitality you still have. Or you can wait until someone else picks up a shovel. For reasons you won't be around to question. Don't let comfort be the thing that destroys you. You're not here to fade. You're here to finish strong.